Hi, my name's Will and I'm here with Dan Ellis from Trico Products Australia. He's our product engineer, and today we're going to learn a little bit about the different types of wiper blades you'll find in the market and what type of refills go into those wiper blades. So Dan, what kind of common wiper blades will you see on most vehicles?
Yeah, absolutely. Really good question. So basically when we look at across the years, there's been a lot of evolution with wiper blades. So where we go from where we've started with a conventional wiper blade, which is on a lot of early model vehicles, we then moved to a more modern style, which we see now on Japanese vehicles and European, of the hybrid blades as well as the beam blades.
Okay, now all of these take wiper rubbers or wiper refills?
No, they take a different refill. So we'll start here with just talk about with the beam blades. So on the beam blades, the Euro blades, people call them as well, or flat blades, they don't take any kind of refill at all. You need to replace the whole structure. That's just the way how those ones are designed.
So that leaves us with the hybrid blade and the conventional blade that takes a refill, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. So firstly I might touch on to the conventional blade. So the conventional blades which we've seen in the past on older model vehicles, anything up to around year 2000, maybe a little bit later. These ones here, they take what's known as a 6mm generally, and then on the longer lengths they take an 8mm rubber.
And by 6mm and 8mm, what do you mean?
Yeah, so what I'm referring to is on the rubber here, it's the dimension across the back of that rubber.
Okay, so there's the width of the rubber.
Absolutely. With these refills, what you'll find is they come in a standard length. So for a 6mm one, they're 610mm long.
Yep.
And what we do is we cut it down to size.
And are there different types of refill in the 6mm and the 8mm that you have available?
Yeah, absolutely. So what you have in the refills is you have your twin rail metal back, and you also have your polycarb or plastic backed styling. The difference is, or why you go a twin rail one, is that's what was fitted as OEM to your vehicle. We recommend that.
Okay, and why would you recommend the twin rail over the plastic? Is there any performance difference or longevity difference?
When we talk about the rubber is 100% Trico rubber, and so that you're still getting the quality white from that. You get longevity from having the rails. The rubber is able to freely move in the wiper blade, which is needed.
So where possible, try to go with a twin rail.
Absolutely.
And most of the time it's either a 6 or 8mm for a conventional.
Absolutely.
And how would you fit one of those?
Yeah, so how you fit it is, what you want to do is you take your existing blade and you'll remove that refill from there. So there's a couple of different ways it can be done depending on what refill you have. So this one we have here has some small end caps on the end. We take that off and we can slide out the refill. Then what we do when we're fitting a new 6mm refill, what we want to do is we notice the end that has the latch on it, and there's another end which is just an open end. So what we'll do with that open end is slide that onto the blade.
Okay.
So we slide it through all of the details on the blade.
And are you able to do this with the blade still on the car?
You can do it on the car, although it's a lot easier if you take it off. And my recommendation is always, if you're taking it off the car, place the wiper arm gently down onto the windscreen so you don't get any wind coming in and cracking the windscreen.
That makes a lot of sense.
So what we want to do now is when we get to the end and we have the latching, this refill is called a TTR 610 refill. We want to clip this latch over the blade, simply like that. Now that refill is retained, but our issue is that we have this extra length down the other end. What we do is we pull off the rubber, and in here we have the rail. We have notch marks on the rail, which indicate where to break it off. What we do with them, we simply snap them off.
Oh, that's handy.
Yeah, it just makes it easy, so you don't need any side cutters or anything like that. So once we've fitted the wiper blade on and we've broken off these notches, we cut the rubber in line with those rails.
Okay, now I notice you've left about an inch over. Why wouldn't you cut it directly in line?
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason for that is because there needs to be flexibility in the blade structure, in the rubber, to take up any flexibility in the blade. So when it's going across your windscreen and all the different angles, it needs to not fall out. So you can see here. The other reason for that is that rubber will shrink and expand in with the temperature, and we need to make sure that that doesn't come inside the end of this ear form here, so it will fall. So it
Okay,
can't
that'll
fall
make
out.
it fall out otherwise. Yep. Okay, so how would we? What's the difference with a hybrid blade? What kind of refills will you find on a hybrid blade, and how do you fit to a hybrid blade?
Yeah, sure. So with a hybrid blade, they take a wider refill in them. So on a conventional blade, they're known as a 6mm or an 8mm, are the two different types, and 8mm is found on the longer lengths. With a hybrid blade, they're known as a 8.5mm.
And then they're always 8.5mm on a hybrid blade?
They're
Okay, that's
8.5mm, so it's nice and easy. So one of the key differences with a hybrid refill though, is that a hybrid refill does not come with rails. So whereas a conventional has rails. Now the reason for that is that out of the factory, your car had them pre-tensioned, they were there, and you'll see there's quite a high curve on them.
Okay.
So there's
a fixed curve on a hybrid rail, as opposed to the straight rails that you'll find on the conventional.
Absolutely, and it's a specific curve for your vehicle. So that's why we use those existing rails with a new rubber. I can show you how to change that one. That's pretty straightforward. It's the same methodology. This one here, they have a molded design that holds the refill in place.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is we simply slide that out, same how the conventional was. We remove the rails and maintain these rails.
Okay, I can see how there's a curve in them.
Yeah, so when we use these new rails with our TRJ rubber, we can see the rails has got these marks in them,
Mm-hmm.
these indents, and that means it goes down the end that has the latch on it.
Yep, I can see that.
So what we do is we put them in, press them along the rail, the rubber. Now with this one here, because the rails are not supplied inside the rubber, I recommend to cut it prior to fitting to the blade. It just makes it a bit easier.
To go on.
So we'll cut that one to length, and we know it's the right length because we can check to see that our rails are all the way down the end here. So to fit this, it's much the same like the conventional, where we just slide it through the details under the blade. Can be a little bit fiddly, so take your time on this. So remember with this one here, a common mistake that that we hear as well is people have used a standard 8mm refill,
Mm-hmm.
that won't fit.
That doesn't have the curve in the metal.
Yeah, that's right. So then when people use that, and also the extra dimension or the size of this one here can make if you use just a standard 8mm, it can fall out and scratch your windscreen.
Okay. So if it's a hybrid, you want an 8.5mm and you want to keep the rails.
Absolutely. So what you'll do then is you'll slide this one through when it's in all of the ear forms, and we'll clip the end in place. And that's all you have to do.
Okay.
Then that one's fitted.
Now, would you recommend changing refills every time, or is it important to change your full blade assembly at a certain point?
Yeah, so what we recommend is that is to change your wiper blades every 12 months, and your refills, if your blade is refillable, every 6 months. It's a lot easier to change a blade sometimes than it is to change a refill, because sometimes they're a little bit more fiddly for the refills. So what we do recommend is for people to change their blades. What you need to look at is the signs of wear. So if your blade is worn out, so if all the joints are loose, etc., it's time to change that whole blade structure. You will get longer life out of that. You'll get better wiping. If you put a refill on a blade which is damaged or worn out, if it's been bent through a car wash, anything like that, you're just masking problems. So
Okay.
you better change a blade overall.
And why would you use Trico refills and blades over anything else available?
Yeah, sure. So Trico refills and blades utilise 100% natural rubber compounds, UV stabilisers, and no silicone components in them. What does that mean? So that means that you get long life out of your product, you get good performance in our harsh weather with our sun, etc., for the UV stability, so you don't get shuttering and bad manners is what you get. But you get the longest life out of your wipers.
Okay. Well, there you have it. That gives us a bit better understanding of what common blades we find in the market, what refills to use with them, and why you would choose Trico. So please remember, when you do bring your car to your local service centre or pick your refills or wiper blades yourself, to always use Trico. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.